Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss about data engineering deployment, how the data engineers will deploy their code into the production. So now I'm going to explain you to to deploy a big data project. That means you have a code, a Spark program, or a MapReduce program, or a Hive query file. So how you will have to move these different environments to environment of this code from production mission. So there is like a four environments, like is local environment and dev environment and UAT environment, user acceptance environment, and production environment. So the very first thing when I say environment is your local environment is in your personal laptop. Okay, then actually there is a real three clusters. So let's take example with through diagrams. So we will have three clusters. So one is dev cluster, and another one is test environment, that is called UAT, user accepted test cluster, and finally we have really having the board environment production cluster. So all these are like a cluster of group of nodes. All these are Hadoop clusters only, but you will have three environment. The very first thing, let me go with only Spark code or Hive HQL. Whatever, you can replace my PySpark with HQL, whatever. I will go with a Spark code. Let's say develop a Spark code. If it is a PySpark, then it is going to be .py file. If it is a Scala or Java, then it's going to be .jar file. So but you can replace with a PySpark script or HiveQL, whatever. It is going to be the common story actually. So in my laptop, I have a IDE like IntelliJ or Eclipse. So you can develop your Spark program code and you can build over there. So imagine I am writing a Spark code for join the two tables in a Spark programmer. So and then I have to get the output, and this output gets stored in another table. So in a the output is going to be get stored in, and in this case in my local environment laptop, what I'm going to do is I have my SQL in my machine in my laptop. So I've just created a table, then I did the join, and then finally I'm doing a show. Because in my local machine do not have any Hive terminal, it is possible you can install, but that's fine. Anyway, you can test in a dev environment. You can skip that in your laptop. I'm just checking my lab output. So your, or even if your MySQL is not there in our local office laptop mission, what you can create a test file, or you have some test framework in which you can create tables, mock tables as a file. Then you can do a join and you can test all the stuff. So in your local laptop, whichever method is possible for you, and populate the input file, you try to do in that way and test in local first. Once your code is ready, it working fine in your local laptop, then build as the code as a .jar file. Then you have to move to development cluster. So this is your dev cluster. In the dev cluster, you can will have same folder structure in which have the place.char, and you have the trigger to smart submit command. So if there is no table structure, sorry, folder structure, they try to create one. Imagine I'm working for a company called the XYZ Insurance. Okay, so this is the client, I'm going to run this particular module. So this is the module called user module. Imagine the code that I have written so far. User module name is user. So here I will creating a folder inside. I'm creating a folder called XYZ Insurance, and inside that I'm creating a user folder. Again, instead of user, I'm placing it .jar file. So within that user, I'm going to replace a job. So I'm going to prepare a smart submit command with all the memory properties and dependencies files. Whatever, I will create one Spark submit command, so it will trigger the jar file now. And you will have a question like, in dev environment, how will I get the input files? So in dev test and production, you will be having a source system already in MySQL in the source, right? So in dev environment, we will having a MySQL installed in the dev environment. So the input tables will be also available. So there is a two-way in which you will get the data in the lower environment. When we say the lower environment is nothing but a test environment, UAT. Whenever say we say the upper environment is nothing but a production. The company's terminologies like jargons will be different to different company to company, so you don't confuse it. I will use the word dev, test, and productions. That way I will use in dev UAT. There will be a team, okay, in which they will populate the data for us, and very important in dev and test environment, source data. So the source data is not real data, it's source data. That is very important. So I need a source In MySQL there is a source tables, there's a SQL, then I can test by Spark code. So in dev and UAT will not see the real data, the real actual business data will not see able to see. There will be a team will populate the data for us and testing purpose in the dev and UAT. If there is no such team, you can populate the data, you can create a table and you can insert some records to it, but mostly we'll have a team. So the team will have some names, just identify it, and so you can use some names and as well, so that team will populate the data for you, or you can create inform to them that and I need this for this table, so they will just generate a data tool they use to have they'll generate the data for the particular table. So now imagine in the dev environment, test or input data is ready for me. MySQL Spark submit, when I trigger the dev cluster, it is running fine, but sometimes you will be having some error with the performance or some syntax issues which in your laptop it was not there, but when you move to dev it is there because of its environment changes, right? So that this is the reason we have to test it by environment to environment. So because if dev cluster has to check the performance as well, that is also matters. Okay, now once it is done with the dev cluster, okay, we have to move to the UAT means user acceptance testing. So once you have done with the dev environment, if everything runs fine, you can check with the lead or sometime someone from the someone senior, okay, your code is good, move to UAT, then you will get an approval, so you can move the is to UAT. So the UAT user will show the folder again in the UAT XYZ incidents, and again in that you can create a user folder. In that user folder again you create a jar file. Then we generate the Spark submit command to run the code. So once the output is generated, we'll ask the user it is a if the data is good, then you can then the user said you are eligible to move the data into the production. So before getting into the production,